Let's do this.
It's time for Hanging with Langan.
I like that she's got a big dirty mouth that gets her in trouble.
Wow.
Stop me, 'cause I'm having a good time.
Hey, you guys, welcome to Hanging with Langan. Maureen Langan here. You know the routine. I interview everyone from academics to alcoholics and everyone in between, bringing you a show that's fun, heart, and smart. That's the goal. I take my journalism background and my comedy world and bring them together to try to bring sometimes a very deep topics, and we try to approach them in a very approachable way. Approach in an approachable way, thus the word approach. So back in my days at Bloomberg Television and Radio, I had a dental plan, health insurance, everything was working out. But then crazy Langan decides, I got to be free spirit and create and write. What the hell's wrong with me? Anyway, one of the folks who used to call in, I just met him because I was on the air and I was doing some kind of wise ass comment, respectfully, about the church and Holy Mary. And he calls in, he's like, you know what? You have a good point. And ever since then, he's been my priest on speed dial. So I want to talk, you're going to meet Father Joe Veneroso in just a moment. He is a Mary Knoll father. Those are missionaries, and we can talk about that. But the cool thing about him, he's a rebel, and that's why I love this guy. I mean, he really is a rebel. So when it comes to, one says, my father says, you go to God or you meet your maker, what do? Do you get buried? Do you get cremated? Those tend to be the options, right? So Father Joe wants a third option called natural organic reduction, natural organic reduction. He says it respects both faith and science, but some bishops are flipping their lids. That's funny, right? Flipping their lids. So he's lobbying the New York State Legislature to get on board with this natural organic reduction. It's legal in a few states. So I'm going to ask him to tell us more about it. And if you're watching this, do me a favor. Just hit the share button. Just hit share. That's all you need to do. Share. This way, this is how we grow the numbers. I put this up on all the major podcast platforms like Apple and Spotify, which I hope you'll go to and review the show in a good way. Otherwise, get dead to me. And then this is a segment you really need. Also, too, if you are watching on Hanging with Langan, love to see your name associated with your comments. We can see your comments if you're on the Hanging with Langan group page, but we can't see your name associated with it unless you give us permission to do so. Maureen, how do I do that? I'll tell you. Just go to StreamYard.com/Facebook, click on the blue button. That's it. Click on the blue button, StreamYard.com/Facebook. And again, share this now, right now. Don't make me hate you. So I want to introduce now, bring onto the .com visual screen, the rebel priest. Jesus was a rebel. He's walking in Jesus's footsteps. Father Joe Veneroso. Ding, 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 ding.
Hey, Maureen, how are you?
I'm well, you nut. I love you. You know that. You're always up to something. You know that.
If it's not one thing, it's another.
All right. So we always thought burial, cremation, but you reached out to me and you were saying, Maureen, there's this third thing called natural organic reduction that has bishops flipping their lids. Do tell. What is this?
Well, I didn't realize that the bishops were, as a group, against it. And mine is not a reaction to them. Mine is a very positive response when I heard about this process. We all have to die, can't get around that. And we have, as you said, very few options to what becomes of our bodies. But then I saw on YouTube this natural organic reduction or recomposition instead of decomposition. They'll say recomposition. And it really piqued my interest. And I never got so excited about something for about 40 years now. And basically what it is you don't embalm. That's the first thing. Because embalming is one of the worst things you can do for the planet. And it's so sad that the last gift of our bodies, our physical bodies, back to the earth would pollute the earth with formaldehyde.
It's so bad.
It's awful. And then and then of course you've got the cement vault, and you've got the wood, the metal caskets, and you're taking up land. So many people, especially in urban areas, have been going for cremation. Well, cremation sounds like it should be good for the environment, but it isn't either, because
Is
first
it?
of all, you're using fossil fuels to burn the body.
Oh, yeah,
Also, it's spewing toxins into the air. And believe it or not, ashes of human remains are not really worth anything. They don't, as a matter of fact, they're so high in alkaline that pH that it actually hurts plants. So along comes this natural organic reduction, and people like you and normal people go, "What? What's that?" You know.
Don't make fun of me. I don't talk like that, Father Joe.
No, I do. When I'm yeah, right. So and basically, they tried to present it using words that people would identify with, which was human composting. And apparently, that's the phrase that got the bishops going. They're oh, with eggshells and coffee grinds and no.
Wait.
All it is really, it's not.
Okay, well, I just want to like clarify this though. Eggshells and coffee grinds. That is so funny.
That's
But
what they said in their letter.
yeah, so I want to just stop there for a moment and take a breather, because what Father Joe is talking about is this natural organic reduction as a third alternative, an alternative to both burial and cremation. So when you say that, let's talk about first what happens to the body, so that we can understand why some people think it's going into a heap with eggs and coffee grinds.
Sure. Well, actually, nothing happens to the body that doesn't happen to the body anyway. Embalming does not preserve your body. It makes you presentable for at least a couple days, maybe a week, so that you can have a wake service. But once you're in the ground, eventually you start to decompose.
Yeah.
Except all that formaldehyde is there, and it could be leaching into the ground and whatnot. So it's to say you decompose. That's what you do. You return to the earth. Now, isn't it interesting? For centuries, Catholics have said at their funerals, we commit the body of Joe Veneroso to the earth from whence it came, earth to earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Ash Wednesday, we put a little ash on your forehead and we say, remember you are dust and unto dust you shall return.
See,
Well,
my mother always said, you're dirt. You've always been dirt. You always will be dirt. You're dirt, dirt.
Right. But anyway, so it's basically living out the prayer that the church has been praying for centuries without any artificial additives. The only thing that's added during the process is air. Now, what
is the process? What does it look like? So you're dead. You're not being embalmed. You're not going to look like Larry King. They're going to do something else with you. You're not going to get cremated through the fossil fuel, the fire, the whatever. How do they do the cremation? They put you in what? How do they do that?
Put you in what is called a retort, which is an oven, like a pizza. I mean, you could say, and then you get, incinerated. Basically, that's the words that people understand. Now, with this one, you can.
What do they do here? You're dead. What happens?
You're dead. Okay. Now it's up to you or the funeral directors. You can prepare the body, wash it, etc., which is what they do around the world, because most other countries do not have morticians. You prepare the body. It is put in either a shroud or a biodegradable, natural fibers, cotton, wool, linen, silk, whatever. No buttons, no zippers. Take out your hearing aids, take out your pacemaker, take out that all stuff. And you could have whatever religious ceremony you want there. This could be after the church funeral, for that matter. You can have a viewing. Even without embalming, they could bring the body down to almost freezing. And then they bring it out, and you've got a couple of hours. You can have a viewing. Nowadays, they have very short viewings anyway. So then you go to this place and have whatever ceremony you want. Your body can be in a shroud, like I said, or wrapped, and you're on a bed of wood chips. And then they put alfalfa, and then you could put roses, the flowers.
Alfalfa? Back up. Alfalfa? What happened?
Any plants, you could put them on top of the body. It's fine. Okay. Right? So you could put roses, eucalyptus, da-da-da. Do your funereal thing. And then you go into, they call it inlaying instead of entombing. You go into a cylinder. And that they close it, and 30 days later, out comes compost. Out comes pure, nutritious, nutrient-rich earth, which does the world a lot of good.
Wow. Listen, if you have a question, folks, just put it in the comment chat box, and we'll see what you have to say. So if you have a question for Father Joe or a comment, So, okay, natural organic reduction. They put you in. What is the thing they put you in for 30
It looks
days?
it looks like a cylinder. If you looked at the whole thing, they have them online.
Yeah.
The woman who came up with this wonderful technology, her name is Katrina Spade. Katrina as in the hurricane, Spade, Spade.
Yeah.
And if you go online, though, there's a couple of very good YouTube videos with her and mortician, a YouTube mortician, Caitlin Doty. And
Mhm.
they show this, and it looks beautiful, actually. It looks like a large white honeycomb. It has these honeycomb things,
Yes.
maybe 5 high and now maybe 10 long. And in you go into the cylinder after the ceremony. And you go into the cylinder, they close it, and very slowly it rotates throughout the 30 days, and they add air to it. All the microbes and germs, in fact, are already in your body. That's where it comes from. That's why you decay. And it just keeps on going. The process continues. 30 days later, it comes out. Now, after 30 days, that step is finished. But then, like if you have fillings in your teeth, they have to go through and get rid of those things that aren't helpful to the planet, Or if
Okay.
you have
But what
limbs.
is this cylinder? Is it at a certain temperature before you get to
The
it?
only temperature it is the temperature that your remains give it. I think it goes up to 150 something, just by the natural process of decomposition.
Your body, if it decomposes,
Yeah.
it just matches your body. So after 30 days, they take your remains out, and what is it looking like then? Is
And
it is it just
it looks like compost, looks like soil. It's about 1 square yard, a cubic yard of material. Then they have to quote unquote treat it, cure it to make sure there's no other, like if you've had chemicals in your body, they might have to put it in sunshine, they might have to put more air, etc. And after, I think it's about a 3-week process for that. Then you can do whatever you want with it. The bishops were concerned that you won't be buried in hallowed ground. You could put it in a biodegradable coffin, even a cardboard coffin, a wicker coffin, and put it in a grave if you want. It doesn't matter. You could put a tombstone if you want. You could also plant on it if you want. Now, coming from an Italian-American home, I love the earth. I love tomatoes. The fact that I could help bring some life into the earth after I'm dead, that is so exciting for me.
well, okay, and I'm speaking with my friend Father Joe Veneroso, a Roman Catholic priest, a Maryknoll priest, and we're talking about what is it? Natural organic reduction instead of burials that use formaldehyde and cremations which use fossil fuels. One of the things I like about this, and we'll get to Patrick McKay's question in a moment or comment. Part of the reason I wanted to be buried instead of cremated is I liked the idea of naturally decaying into the ground and the soil and becoming part of the earth again versus being singed alive in a pizza oven. So that was just me. I just wanted my body as it is to decompose naturally. I didn't like the burn portion of it. I'm loving this a lot because it seems so natural. It seems like you said where faith and science can come together. They're not at odds with each other. Patrick's saying, what about composting? But isn't it somewhat synonymous with this, except you're not? Go ahead, I'll let you answer because you said the eggs.
No, he's absolutely right. It is a form of composting. That's the closest thing we have to identify with it. The difference is because there are what they call natural burials where they go right to like a forest or something and they put your body in a shroud and put you in the ground. This one kind of speeds up the process a little bit of your recomposition, right? So and then with that soil, you can put it on your plants. Now here's the deal, of course. These laws are not just for Catholics. So for Catholics to object to this, well, what about Jews? Jews don't embalm. Jews do not cremate. Should we say cremation should be illegal or should they say it's illegal because they don't like to do it? No, make it an option for anybody who wants it.
So you're saying the Catholic Church does not want this to be legal, particularly in the state of New York where you live, because it is legal in the state of Washington and 2 other states.
Washington, Colorado, and Oregon, and it's coming for a vote in New York next session, as well as in California. So this is a wave. Now, besides the bishop, guess who else is opposed to it?
Who?
The morticians, the undertakers. Duh.
And they probably have the biggest lobbying.
Exactly. Well, the thing is, as they did with, don't forget, cremation was once forbidden by the Catholic Church as well.
I remember that.
1963, it became legal, but or permissible, I should say. It was always legal. Permissible for Catholics, but they had very stringent guidelines. You can do this, you can't do that. You can't bring the cremated remains into the church. It has to be the body. You can't, they still say you can't scatter the ashes. You have to have them, and you can't keep them in your home. You have to put them in a columbarium or what, yada, yada. In other words, they can still say, the church has still the right to say what to do with this earth, what to do with this soil. But why? If it's good soil, why not re-enter the circle of life? Why not create a garden, a memorial garden, and say, wow, there's Father Joe all over the place, you know, and that butterfly and that peach tree.
See, that's what I love. This makes me so happy to hear about this. I actually have goosebumps because I really believe that that energy that existed stays alive, wherever that goes, wherever it dissipates. And then why not use what held that to replenish, you know, from that cycle of life. I love it. A couple comments here. I love that people are into this because this is really cool stuff. Tony was asking, will your order allow you to do this? Well,
my order thinks I'm crazy anyway, but yes. I mean, I've been speaking about nothing else all month because this is the month of All Souls. And I sat down with our superior general and I go, guess what? And he goes, now what? You know, and I told him, he goes, hey, go for it. You know, and we have our own cemetery here. We have people being cremated. There's the option of also those priests and sisters, et cetera, who donate their bodies to science. You can do that as well. Those options are still there. So why not? There's nothing disrespectful of the human body in this process. It's natural decay. Now, as a matter of fact, some Jews even allow for what you've spoken of in their own tradition, where if the cement vault is required, they put it in upside down.
Oh.
In other words, there's no lid. There's no lid on it. So it's the earth, and then the coffin, and then the vault goes on top, so that the coffin is touching the earth, and your elements go back to the earth. So you can.
Now, do you think? Well, I guess if the state of New York decides to move ahead with this, and I know you wrote a letter to the state legislature, which I love that you wrote a letter. You sent that to me too, telling them that you are. I want to see if I have that letter here with me. Yeah, you wrote, as a Roman Catholic priest, I enthusiastically and wholeheartedly support offering the people of New York State the option for natural organic reduction of the human body after death. And then you said, for centuries, the Roman Catholic Church prayed over the deceased. We, end quote, we commit the body to the earth from which it was made, earth to earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. End quote. And to this day, every Ash Wednesday, Catholics are reminded of these things. And then you go into the like encyclical things I can't pronounce, Roman Latin words. I don't know.
Laudato Si by the Pope, yes.
Yeah, you know what happens when you do that? Maybe you were raised a different kind of Catholic than I, but we had no question answer period growing up in my church. I didn't know if the Corinthians were like the Fallopians. I had no idea what was going on. I'm like, when am I getting a Q&A around here? I just had questions, but there was no like, my mother probably shut down and shut your mouth. I hear a word out of you, you're dead. But so Tony, was your question, will your order allow this? If it is legal in the state of New York, will the Mary Knowles? Sure. They will.
And as has been done with cremation, with the crematoria. Is that the plural? I guess it's a plural.
Should I go along?
Right. The funeral directors or the cemeteries, the conglomerate, whatever their union is called, control that. So they would build these facilities in cemeteries, just like they have crematorium in cemeteries. So the order would definitely allow it, like it does the other thing, as long as, again, we're being respectful of the human body. And to me, it's almost like an act of faith. Where was my body 100 years ago? It was in the earth somewhere. You know, so why not return it to the earth? And I have to tell you, Maureen, when I started getting interested in this, I always loved nature. I loved the seasons, the cycles, all that stuff. But I felt a affinity again to nature. It's like, yeah, I came from you, and I'm not only going to return to you, I'm going to enrich you.
I see you and I raise you.
Yes, I raise you. I raise you a palm tree or whatever. Yes.
Yes. Well, hold on. I'm gonna. I have so many questions for you, and I'm going to ask. There's a couple things you talked about because we go on so quickly, and And then the earth, okay, born of. I'm writing this down for one moment. I'm going to put you in the green room for just a moment, the back room, and then we will return momentarily with Father Joe Veneroso. He is a Maryknoll priest, and that's in Westchester, the Maryknolls. They're missionaries. They do good work. He speaks Korean. He went to Korea when he was young. This man knows a lot of stuff. He has a church he works with out in Queens. I can't keep up with him, but he's a rebel, and I love him because he's accessible. There's no BS with this guy, and you can talk to him. I talked to him. I went to a diner with him when I was getting unmarried, and I was so sad, and we just gabbed. It was easy. I like him. All right, so what I want to tell you, here we go, my belt. This is my commercial break. You guys, check out my new website, maureenlangan.com. And I'm doing a lot of corporate hosting and speaking and moderating. What is moderating? Well, I was a journalist for many years, so I'll interview CEOs or New York Times authors panels for corporations that might be hiring different people and want to move it along and have a Q&A. So that type of thing. So go to my website, check that out. I can bring tailor my TEDx talk for your organization. Of course, I can put together stand-up shows. So it depends. I do a lot of organizations for special needs, foster kids, fundraising, things like that, where you want that right balance between humor and reverence. It's kind of like our show today with Father Joe Veneroso. And as you see over my shoulder, the Don't Make Me Hate You t-shirt, I'm all about love. I don't want to hate anyone. It's what you do that causes me to hate you. I'm a victim. But those shirts, all kinds of things are on sale at my store at maureenlangan.com. It'll take you to a place called Redbubble. That hosts all the merchandise. But you can get t-shirts, all kinds. You can get coasters and just so many cool little gifts for the holidays. So check that out. Because you know how they say, oh, you got to have something for the grab bag. And I go, Lord, nobody needs another candle. So get a Don't Make Me Hate You t-shirt. And you tell them it's because you love them and you just want to keep love alive. So that's really what it's about. All right. So let me and if you want to support the show financially, you can go to PayPal and Venmo at Malangan. And if you want to do a monthly subscription, you get all the video casts plus extra backstage videos and things like that aren't on the other platforms. And that's at patreon.com. patreon.com/Maureen Langan. Consider subscribing. It starts at $5 a month, and it's a really good way to keep the show going. You can also subscribe at all the major for free, all the audio podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, almost all of them. So go to that, just subscribe and give a nice review. And if you can't get a good review, you've made me hate you, and we didn't want to do that. So I'm going to I'm talking with my friend, Father Joe Veneroso. We're talking about alternatives to traditional burial, cremation, and it's called natural organic reduction. And basically it's human composting in a cylinder, and then you get to do what you want. So we're going to bring him back. I guess you get to do what you want unless you're Catholic. Father Joe.
Hi.
This is a great topic, by the way. Okay. Hi, Charlotte. Hi, Janice. Oh, Janice wants to do this. Very good. So you were talking about you wanted to return to the earth because we were born of the earth. And I do know we say earth to earth and all that, but what do you mean we were born of the earth? I always just thought we kind of, I don't know. What do you mean?
Well, if we can take it back even farther, as scientists have told us, we are actually made of stardust.
Starbucks?
Yeah, it's that too. Now you have the Starbucks. Yes, it's stardust, the explosion of galaxies, etc. Eventually, they became us, who we are. And speaking from the Catholic tradition, we are in Advent. We're coming to Christmas, which the formal name for it is the incarnation, the enfleshment of Jesus. And some people are scandalized by that, but that happens to be the root of our faith. That the invisible, all-powerful, all-merciful God took on human flesh. Every cell of Jesus's body came from the earth. And when he rose and he ascended to heaven, he took his humanity with him. So there's a wedding between the divinity and humanity that takes place. We have to start taking our humanity seriously because God did.
What do you mean he took it with him? Didn't he leave any for us? What do you mean?
Didn't leave any for us except in the Eucharist. Isn't that a sneaky, tricky pull? Yes, that's where his flesh remains.
A communion with your humanity.
And there it is. And we commune with him and we commune with nature. And even the church has taught that creation is the first sacrament. Long before there was a church, long before there was way back when, it was God manifesting God's self through creation. And if you have the eyes to see, you see the hand of God everywhere.
So what if you don't get the I know I told you there's no Q&A at my Catholic church growing up. You would never know. I went to church every Sunday in my life. But so if you don't, I don't want to get too sidetracked, but if you're saying like if Jesus took his humanity, we can't have humanity without the Eucharist?
No, I didn't imply that at all. It becomes us. There's a transformation. Our religion is about transformation. God becomes human. We share a vocation with God. God's vocation was to become human. Our vocation is to become human. And then he gives us the Eucharist. The bread becomes him. He becomes us. There's a constant transformation going on. And why should literally our last action on earth be poisoning the environment with formaldehyde?
Right. And that's back to our topic of natural organic reduction. Going up to the New York State Legislature will be voting on whether or not this can be legal in the state of New York. What is it? Basically, human composting, getting you up to speed for those who are just tuning in. And Father Joe is a big supporter of this, has written a letter to them. Some of the bishops, not so happy. Why?
Again, because they see the word compost, which we had to use because you hear natural organic reduction and people, what is that? It's just not known. Similarly, I would imagine if you go back a couple hundred years and you use the word cremation, they go, what is that? And you say, well, we incinerate your body and we burn it like a pizza. You could always go to the lowest common denominator. But the point is, it's reducing. That's why I like the word, what's her name? Katrina Spade uses the word, it's natural organic recomposition. You're not just decomposing, you're recomposing because you're going back to natural elements.
And she's the one who created this? Is that what
She came up, yes. She's been working on this for close to 10 years. And her ideas have changed. So it's much more. And she's also a big on combining spirituality and science. Who
is she? Who is she? A doctor? Is she?
Her family, it's interesting. She comes from a family of doctors, but she got her master's. I wish I remember where, but she saw, especially as an alternative in large urban settings, where cemeteries are nowhere to be seen, but the cremation is not good for the environment. So she wanted to come up with another alternative for disposal of the human body in a way that honors its sacredness. So she wants, whatever your tradition is regarding the body, you can do that before it goes into the cylinder. And even after that, you can plant roses, then bring the roses to the church, whatever you want to do with it.
So much like how the Jewish people get the body in the ground within 24 hours, you're saying that when somebody passes, if they're a Catholic or any faith or no faith, they can have a service with their body still with us.
Yes.
Up to, does there a certain amount of time?
Well, like I said, if it's near freezing, if you have the body near freezing, you probably hold it for over a day. Why you would want to, I don't know, because nowadays the wakes are getting shorter and shorter. Back in the day, like my parents, you'd have a wake goes on 3 or 4 days. And in those days, they would put dry ice under the corpse. That's how they preserved it. They didn't do embalming.
All right. So what you're saying is we just move on it, like get it going, like get the funeral going, get the wake going, move it. Let's go, folks. Let's get the show on the road.
Let me tell you something. About 10 years ago, because we have funerals here at Marino all the time. We have an older population. And usually people say what they want to say about the deceased. And I thought to myself, well, what do I want to say to the people I leave behind when it's my turn to die and go? And I wrote a reflection, and I went back to it and looked at it. And the very first line of this reflection is, do not mourn this joyous lump of earth I have become. And that was before I ever heard of organic reduction. I said, that's it. Because as the poem goes on, I'm going on to other adventures. I'm going back into the realm of nature from which I came.
I love this. And, Father Joe, though, but how do people, I guess they're going to have to research it, but it's not legal yet in all but 3 states. So this is going to have to become a business. This is going to have to be, because there really is nothing in place for example, the state of New York or California right now, for what I know.
As your other listener or the other caller mentioned, yeah, there is what they call natural burial. It's the person dies, and as long as there's no investigation that needs to be done, they bury them right away. Now, with natural organic reduction, obviously the next of kin have the option of what they want to do with the soil that is thus produced. If you don't care, there are reserves, there are forests that are being set aside specifically to spread this soil in.
Mhm.
So you will there'll always be one. In other words, you won't be shoved off in a garbage can somewhere. By the way, you have to ask yourself, what do you think happens to your blood when they embalm you?
Oh.
It goes down the drain.
Ugh.
You see, that's what I'm saying. We might not might not like the thought of being composted, but I don't want to be flushed down the toilet either, you know.
But when you talk about like people can be buried right away in a forest or right away without, so what is the difference between one is decomposing in a cylinder and the other is decomposing in the ground?
Right, it just takes longer in the ground. That's all. That's the difference.
But I guess, what is that? Like, people just go find, like, you know where to go for burial, you know where to go for cremation. What does one go if they just want to be buried in the ground right away?
Well,
Other than already
it's certain cemeteries allow it. Yeah, you'd have to investigate local cemeteries in your area. Some of them have natural areas where they allow bodies to be buried, and I hope they're keeping track of who's where, because you don't want to be digging a grave and interrupt somebody, you know. Now, the other good thing about this, you know, there's been all kinds of horror movies about people being buried alive and people being cremated alive. You can't be composted alive, because what's causing the compost is your dead body. If you were to wake up and you're in this cylinder, all you do is knock on the door and they let you out. There's nothing going on because you're still alive.
Let me ask you this: with the Catholic Church, yeah, I just got a headstone for my aunt who deceased many years ago, and I just wanted to have a little something for her. So how come the church, like, you get, like, first of all, whenever you die, no matter who you are, if you get a tombstone, you get a few words. That's what you get. You get a few words. That's your legacy. But how come the Catholic Church, they have a whole list of things you're allowed to say? Like, you can't do funny stuff. You can't have something a little pithy, and you can't do sarcasm. It all has to be Sacred Heart of Jesus, bless me, Mary, Mother of God, please pray with me. Like, I like those people. But what if I want to say fun, heart, smart, or what a wise ass? Like, how come you can't do that?
Well, when was the last time you went to a Catholic funeral? Because they do that. Usually after.
Headstones?
On the headstone. I thought you meant during the service.
Oh, yeah, no, service.
No, yeah, that's a good question, because I was thinking of saying on my headstone, what are you looking at?
Yeah, exactly. They won't let you do that.
Yeah.
They won't let you do that.
I don't know. You know, in the Capuchin tradition, if you go to Rome, Italy, there's the Immaculate Conception Church. It's called the Bones Church, because they dig up the bones of the friars, and the whole basement is decorated with bones. And it's got chandeliers and jawbones. And it's fun to go there with a medical student, because there's a femur, there's a tibia, blah, 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 blah. I mean, if they can do that, why can't we do this?
I want you to look into that, because I'm telling you, when I was looking at things to put on the headstone, everything had to be, you know, angel from above, please watch over. All of that stuff, I don't, it's beautiful if that's what somebody wants. But I just wanted to have something, maybe, if I go, I want something a little more unique.
I've already got your tombstone picked out. It says, "Don't make me hate you."
Very good. Very good. Listen, this has been so informative, Father Joe. And if people want to follow this rebel on his personal accounts, Facebook and Twitter, Joe Veneroso, and you're Mary Knoll Father, so they can follow the mission of the Mary Knolls on Twitter at Mary Knoll.
And when they hear of my passing, if this becomes legal, I guarantee people will rejoice, because they go, Joe's going on to his next adventure.
Well, I hope we have you for a very, very long time. I just think the world of you, and I'm really glad you reached out.
Thank you very much, Marie.
All right, I'm going to put you in the back room, my darling. Do we have one more? Oh, what do you want played at your funeral? Who, me? Or Father Joe? I don't know what I want played at my funeral. I'm hearing a little Bruce Springsteen. I'm hearing some cool Irish music. I'll get back to you on that. I do like Placido Domingo. I don't know. We'll see. We'll get back to you. We can do a compilation reel. It's going to be a very long time. Very, very long time from now. So, you know the routine. Until we meet again. Bye. Mwah.
No, you cannot leave me like that.
Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review, and feel free to share it with a friend.
Please don't go, please.
I'll be back.
Au revoir.